Hello and welcome back for another Aldi So Crafty crochet kit. We're looking at the Make Your Own Raccoon kit today. So these were bought in Aldi UK in September and they retailed at the time for $3.99 a kit. So what do you get in the box for a crochet kit by So Crafty? So you'll get your yarns for the project. You also get a very small green plastic crochet hook. Now these measure 3.5 millimeters. It is marked on the end of the hook, but it's really difficult to read it, so I actually used a hook gauge to find out what size it was. And you get a green plastic darning needle with a very big eye. Now the yarn that you get in these kits are acrylic, and they're not, when you're using a plastic needle with a plastic hook and a plastic needle with acrylic yarns, they don't glide across the hook so well. So I actually haven't used these, I used my own equipment. You also get your instruction booklet, which comes as an A4 sheet. It tells you on the back what you get in the kit. It also tells you that the end product is for decorative purposes only and should be kept out of reach of children and babies. So I think that's their way of getting around the CE testing for the stuffing and the yarns in the finished product. It does mean that they don't have to do the CE testing on it. So a couple of little tips when it comes to using the instructions. You have got a list of UK abbreviations and a stitch guide here to follow. I am pleased that these are in UK terminology. Quite often a crochet kit will end up being US terminology, so it's nice that Aldi UK and So Crafty have geared this to the UK market. Now the format of their patterns are a bit different from what you would download on Ravelry or what you might find in a crochet magazine. So the way they've written the patterns may be unusual to you. So for example, on the head, we've got, it'll say to you, we'll start with round 2 for example, it just says ink 6 times. This means increase 6 times because round 1 you've got 6 stitches. By increase, what they mean is to put 2 double crochet in each of those 6 stitches. So wherever it says ink or increase, you're going to put 2 stitches in the same place. Later on it tells you to DEC, decrease, and what you're going to do there is you're going to decrease over 2 stitches. Now the quickest and easiest way to do that is to double crochet 2 together. So you'll start a double crochet in the first stitch, then start the double crochet in the second stitch, and then finish the 2 off together. So that's the first thing that I would like to point out about these patterns. They also use square brackets for their repeating patterns. So when you're looking at a magazine, you often see a star at the beginning of a set of instructions and a star at the end, and that normally means repeated instructions. In the pamphlet for the So Crafty crochet kits, they're not using stars, they're using square brackets. So anything that is any instructions in the square brackets means that you're going to repeat that for however many times it tells you on the outside of the instructions. So on the head for the raccoon, for example, for rounds 4 through to 10, you've got a set of repeated instructions in the square brackets, and it's telling you you need to repeat those instructions 6 times. I think that's about it. Oh, always have a post-it note handy when you're working. For example, on the body, rounds 9 to 18, it's the same stitch pattern for all of those rounds, and it's just useful to have a post-it note and write down at the end of each round that you've made so that you can keep track. And I've started making the raccoon, and I wanted to give a part-way update to the video. So first of all, I found a mistake in the pattern. in the text of the pattern. When it comes to the ears and using the black yarn, do not chain 5, you want to chain 6, and by chaining 6 you will then have 5 double crochet. And also it hasn't marked row 1, row 2, row 3 and row 4, so bear that in mind when you're making it. So row 1 is just 5 double crochet. On row 2 it hasn't told you how to decrease in the pattern, so what I did was for row 2 I did 2 double crochet, then I skipped, so I jumped over the next stitch, and then I crocheted 2 double crochet before turning. On row 3 I did 1 double crochet, then I did a decrease 2 together, and then a double crochet, and then turned. And on row 4 you're going to do 1 double crochet, skip a stitch, and 1 double crochet. Now before we move on to everything else, now obviously the kit says you've got everything you need to make the raccoon. Now it's not strictly true in this case. I've been making the raccoon, and this is our raccoon. A bit scary on the eyes. He's got arms, his legs aren't on yet, and his tail isn't on yet. Now there is a reason for this. So I've run out of stuffing. Now I've been making the raccoon in a smaller hook size to what comes in the box. The green hook, the plastic hook that comes in the box, measures as a 3.5mm hook. I couldn't find my 3.5, so I've been using my 3 hook, and I actually have quite a tight tension anyway. Now, so Mr. Raccoon is being made with a 3mm hook, and I have been playing yarn chicken with the grey. The grey was really tricky. I have managed to make the tail. There was just enough grey left. I will show you how much grey I have left. This is how much grey I have left. So if you're a loose crocheter or you're using the 3.5 hook, you might find that you'll run out of grey yarn. So it was real touch and go as to whether or not I was going to have enough grey yarn to finish the tail. Thankfully we have finished the tail. Now the other reason why I haven't got the legs and the tail attached to our raccoon yet is because I've actually run out of stuffing. I've managed to fill one leg up with stuffing. Leg number 2, you can see we haven't filled up the top. I've managed to get enough stuffing to fill the bottom, and obviously I haven't got enough stuffing to fill his tail. So thankfully I had leftover stuffing in the alpaca kit, so I'm actually going to use that to finish off the raccoon, and then I'll come back and tell you a bit more about the raccoon when we're done. So we've just got to stuff, join the bits, and make the pom-poms for his scarf. Right, so now that I've sourced myself some more stuffing to finish the raccoon off, we now have our raccoon. His legs are now stuffed and attached, and so is his tail. So all I did there, because I had leftover stuffing from the alpaca kit, I just utilised that. So like I said a little bit earlier, I have been a bit disappointed with this one because there wasn't enough stuffing, and yarn chicken with the main colour as well, so they didn't actually put enough yarn in for the grey part of the body. I'm not a fan of pom-poms, but I have made them. I just made mine around a fork rather than using the old donut method. I have got pom-pom makers, but they're in storage and I couldn't get to them. So here's our raccoon finished. He doesn't quite look like he does on the box because I aligned the layers for his eyes just a little bit wrong. In hindsight, I should have moved those a little bit further down, but I don't think it really matters. There's our finished raccoon.